Welcome to the Elise Morgan Experience, the podcast where transformation meets sass, where personal development gets a New York attitude, and where we're not afraid to tackle those controversial topics head on. I'm your host, Elise Morgan, a life coach, author, and transformational speaker on a mission to help you live a life you absolutely love. Whether you're going through a challenge or chasing dreams, we are going to unlock the secrets of the law of attraction, conquer your self-doubt, master your mind, and navigate life's curveballs with a smile. And it's not just about me talking at you. It's about us together exploring the incredible power that lies within you. So get ready to embark on an exciting journey to create a life you love with me leading the way with my unapologetic authenticity, straight talk, humor, and love. Buckle up and hit subscribe because this isn't just a podcast. It's an invitation to a life-changing experience. Let's make some magic happen. Hello world. Welcome to the Elise Morgan Experience. I'm your host, Elise Morgan, and this is episode 20. Why relatives and their titles don't mean shit. Okay, this episode is going to be freeing to some, an eye-opener to many. I was planning on doing an episode with this subject matter, but, I wasn't sure when I was going to do it, but I decided to do this topic now because of recent personal family shit regarding my husband's side. I really feel this topic is a great one for anyone because in my experience with helping people and even within my own life, many of us have had struggles within family. You know what they say, right? You can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family. But to throw in a little bit of my woo-woo spiritual belief here, and I say this all the time, and I believe it wholeheartedly, we are all spiritual beings having a human experience here on earth. And there's a theory that before we come into this physical body, our souls actually pick each other to be family or anyone else that we encounter in our life here on earth so that we can feel and learn the lessons no matter how painful. So in essence, with this theory, you do pick your own family, right? This belief can be true because I do think we are way more than this physical body. In fact, we are way more non-physical than we are physical. But in this episode, we're not going to focus on this metaphysical aspect. We are going to focus on you can pick your nose, but not your family aspect. So, now, I am a firm believer that family does not have to mean a blood relative. My best friend is truly like a sister to me, and in the past, her family truly has been like a family to me. And I'm sure many of you listening have people in your lives that you consider family or, who are not related by blood. We also have, of course, people who are adopted and their families may not be blood, but they are truly their family. So now let's get to the word family here for a minute. Just what it means. It basically means parents and their children and our common ancestry living together and sharing life. Blah, blah, blah. I think everyone listening gets what I'm saying. Bottom line, relatives or blood or not, and they are, the people we have relationships that we have with each other. Does that make sense? I'm mixing up my words a little bit, but you get what I'm saying. So in these relationships, in society, we have titles. Mother, father, sister, brother, aunts, uncles, cousins. You get it. And with these titles, we have definitions of what that title means, literally, as in the biological aspect, but also what that title means within what is expected of that title. You know what I mean? And I'm going to use the title of mother or mom, for example. So, here is the definition as per Google. And there's a few, so hear me out here. So, in The simplest form is a woman in relation to her child or children. It also means bringing up a child with care and affection, and it also stated give birth as in she mothered two children. In addition, it can mean a person enters motherhood when they become a mother. This most commonly happens when their child is born, but it can also happen through adoption or by marrying or becoming a partner to someone with children. Motherhood is a gender-specific version of the term parenthood. Now, anyone listening, and I am not getting into a gender debate here. I do not want to hear your opinion of genders and the 9,000 genders that you may feel there are. I do not want to get into any debate on the subject whatsoever, so don't even bother sending me messages or comments or hate mail. I won't acknowledge it. All right. With that being said, lastly, the last quote or unquote definition I looked up, or shall I say description I found is: mothers are loving, compassionate, endearing, kind, protective, strong, extraordinary, intuitive, caring, and mindful. I feel that's what I am, but this is the description I would like to concentrate on for the sake of this episode. And of course, what I'm about to explain about relatives and titles goes for all the titles. I'm just using mother to really hit home with what I want to convey here on this episode, because I think the title of mother brings up the same, for most of us, for what it means and what is expected. And that is what I want to discuss with you here. Expectations. Now, to me, I believe it is truly innate to love your mom, to love your parents. It's just inside of you. And it's proven. And to go off subject for a second here, but not really, because it's relative to what I just said, studies have shown that no matter how horrible a parent is, for whatever the reason, right? They're abusive, or perhaps they're addicted to drugs, or they're unable to care for you in the best way, or they're inattentive, all the things. It is shown that the child is still just innately loves their mom, their parent. That is why the subject of parent alienation makes me so sick, for personal reasons, and just because it is so disgusting what is done to innocent children with parent alienation. And if you don't know what parent alienation is, that is when the child is psychologically manipulated, and which is psychological abuse, by one parent against the other parent, usually in a divorce, to show hate, hostility, disrespect, anger, and complete, sometimes estrangement by force, fear, or whatever tactic they can use against an otherwise loving parent, just to win the child and, in essence, torture the loving parent. The child essentially is used as a pawn. It is considered one of the most heinous acts of child abuse because it's psychological warfare on the kid's mind. And it's also very sometimes hard to prove, as opposed to if a kid is being beaten and has bruises, because the bruises would actually show the proof, right? All right, this subject is near and dear to my heart, and actually will be a whole episode in and of itself. But for this episode, I bring it up to prove that a child would never stop loving a parent unless manipulated psychologically to do so, confirming what I just said, that the love of a parent is innate. Now, let's take that last description here, that the one I said, that mothers are loving, compassionate, endearing, kind, protective, strong, extraordinary, intuitive, caring, and mindful. I think this description depicts what I feel in society we mostly expect a mother is. Am I right? But what if they aren't that? What if your mom is incapable of those things? What if you were brought up feeling unloved, unwanted, and every encounter with your mom was toxic, and you felt obligated to keep this relationship afloat because, and I quote, "But it's your mom." Why? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a firm believer in family and family bonds, and I was always one to want that family connection, and I do believe family gets more leeway sometimes because yes, it's it's your family. But I do think that for a lot of people, this goes a little too far. There are family members out there that are so toxic and so mentally unhealthy that there sometimes has to come a time either to keep a very far distance, have those strong boundaries, or a complete cutoff. In my experience, I see that the majority of people can't do any of those things simply because, and I quote again, because they're family. And I think that's a very conditioned way of thinking. Why, if someone is related to you, are they allowed to do things, say things, abuse you really, and all the things that you would never ever allow other human beings to do to you? Why? So let's go back to the mom reference, because I think in this society, it's the strongest pull for that way of thinking. The thinking of, but it's my mom. Another even strong pull, I feel, it's also, but it's my child. So with those two feelings and thought processes, people accept or tolerate things that perhaps they really shouldn't. We have in society this way of thinking, and it promotes that acceptance of truly unacceptable behavior. First and foremost, we are all human beings first, and some humans are extremely poisonous to us, and a lot of those poisonous humans come to us as relatives. So, to get very personal here, I'm going to use my husband and a family situation to give a great example, since this is actually currently in our lives as I record this, and since this, as I said, was a topic I already was going to record about, I feel this is perfect timing. So I'm going to try and be brief, but I usually can't, when I want to try and make a point, but I'll try and be quicker than usual with some of this part of the story. So to make his family history story a little short, I'm going to really try and give a short overview, but guys, I like to talk, that. So, his dad was a big personality, but sometimes very mentally and sometimes very physically abusive. His mom was too weak and probably intimidated to ever speak up on his behalf, my husband's behalf, when the quote-unquote abuse was going on, nor was she an affectionate type of woman, and add a very toxic, unhealthy sister in the mix. Yeah, I know. It could be anywhere, anyone, worldwide, right? What I just explained, that could be anyone. I get it. But I'm trying to explain, my personal stuff, or the personal story that I'm trying to get across for us. So, to keep going here, throughout his years, he was always criticized by his dad, lack of affection, etc., from his mom, and the sister just the toxic energy and drama. When he was 25, he decided to quit being an accountant because he fucking hated it and became a police officer in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where they were hiring at the time, and he just decided, without knowing anyone or anything in Atlanta, and just take the leap and go. Just start his life. Well, from there, that is when the family dynamic went even further downhill. So instead of being proud of their son, they felt he abandoned them and he was doing something to them. And they let him know this big time, actually saying, "You left us," shit like that. Instead of being proud of him as a young man going off on his own and doing something that he felt would make him happy and he felt compelled to do with his life, and be proud of him that he was mature and confident enough to do that on his own. They didn't even go to his police academy graduation nor visit him but once in his 13 years of living in Atlanta. And has actually said to him in those years, why would I want to go to Atlanta? Just always had like that kind of attitude towards him. Even when he came home to visit and then subsequently moved back back there to New York. I now live in Florida, but when he moved back to New York, the attitude was given, and he was always criticized for anything he did. No matter what he did, it was wrong. And they made sure to believe me to tell him so and treat him like that. But throughout all the years, even though being kicked down time and time again, he always felt the need to, quote, do the right thing because they are family. But deep down inside, it wasn't really the right thing for him because his family was very hard to be around. But he continued, and plus remember, we have that extended family and their input as well. And in his situation, they had no idea what was going on behind the scenes within his, immediate family, and would have considered him the bad guy because you said it. Guess what? You guessed it. Because they would have said, quote, but they are family. So let's forward to now. And if you're still listening to me, I know you didn't sign up for the Morgan family drama that's going on, but I promise you I'm making a point here and revealing some deep personal stuff here that, sometimes I don't usually do that, but I always try to get to the point. I always get to the point of the lesson or what I want to convey in my episode, so bear with me. I appreciate you for sticking out with this stuff. So I am with my husband for 6 years, so I have 6 years of being privy to a lot of this. So it's not hearsay in the least. It is what happened and what I've seen and what I've experienced myself. So anyway, fast forward to now. His dad died approximately 4 years ago, and his mom legit just passed. And ever since the dad died, my husband started to really see his mom, for lack of a better word, for who she really was. Since the dad was the bigger, louder personality, and now he wasn't around, he was able to see more clearly. Sometimes the other parent isn't as clear to us when we are growing up, or even when we are adults, when one parent is like overpowering the other, or their personality is overpowering the other person, the other parent. Now, I know you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, nor of someone's mom, and I'm not here to be malicious at all. And I know that she is now back home as the beautiful white light she was inside her human form. I'm just here stating some facts to you to help you in case there is something like this that you may be also struggling with, because we are all so conditioned with the quote, but they are family, end quote, crap. All right. Anyway, my husband's mom wasn't warm and fuzzy, affectionate, nor appreciative of her son, and always seemed to be mad at him for something, by her criticizing actions and demeanor. And about 2 years ago, she now lived with his sister. Since the dad passed away, the mom decided to move in with the sister. I don't know if she decided. I think the sister decided that, but whatever. And the sister did a great job at adding fuel to the fire and manipulating his mom against him even more. And that, too, is another full episode of what toxic, insidious, narcissistic people do. I got a lot of episodes coming up on narcissism, so those are good ones. But anyway, his mom, just was never happy to see him, or shall I say us, because I was there too sometimes. Never satisfied, always negative, criticizing, blah, blah, blah. Not to bore you with more details, just, through the years, so much shit and so much drama that the relationship was sadly almost a formality. But my husband was always respectful and tried to do, and I will use that saying again, do the right thing by his mom. Calling, try to see her, etc. And I'm not just saying this because he's my husband. It's literally outside looking in, the true perspective. So 2 years ago, his mom was diagnosed with cancer. And within that 2 years, instead of the relationship getting closer and deeper as he had hoped, it worsened. Due to, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion that know that all what's going on, due to our opinion that the manipulation by his sister, but whatever, his mom has been like that before. So whatever the reason, the relationship, it just still worsened. He still got more attitude. And even when, when she's dying of cancer, we found out that she and her daughter were calling family and strangers with wacky fabricated stories about him to smear him. And yet he still tried to be a good son. Keep in touch, call, offer to help, the whole nine. By the way, we're still at a loss as to why they were calling people and saying all this. I mean, still kind of a mystery there. But anyway, about a month ago, at a family function for his niece's communion, unfortunately, there was an argument because of all the behind-the-scenes stuff my husband found out before, right before this communion, actually the night before, that his mom and sister were doing. All these fabrications. So he had asked his mom why she was doing all this, especially, and basically she's sick and dying, all that stuff. So anyway, after the argument, which again was induced by his own mom's actions and his sister's from the night before, and then we found out months before all this shit, after that argument, my husband received a letter in the mail from a lawyer stating that his mom's wishes are to cut him off from the trust and will. And, everything was supposed to go equally to he and his sister. And I'm sure his sister helped in that decision so that she can get all, and perhaps why those, phone calls were made to all the people to smear him, to have an excuse maybe for taking this action, to take him off. Who the hell knows? And, so he gets this letter from the lawyer, and he also was called by his uncle that his mom had requested that her son, my husband, not be allowed at the funeral. I mean, I'm getting kind of choked up even hearing it again. So, okay, lots of reality TV drama subject matter going on here, being dropped on you. And I'm not usually deep with drama and any of this kind of stuff because that I always say what you focus on grows. But I want you to have some substance here. And for this episode, what's going on here is a perfect example for you, my listeners. So from the time of the family function and the cutoff letter, which was about a month ago, because of all the hurt and the damage of being cut off and all the years of all this shit, my husband just really wasn't ready and didn't want to reach out to his mom for obvious reasons. Nor did he think she would even pick up the phone based upon the letter from the lawyer and what she had said to his uncle, all the things. He also was truly hoping his mom would reach out to him with some sort of apology for all this shit she did and said and have a change of heart. She's dying. So here we are. Yes, everyone, here is the lesson and the point of this episode. My husband, or shall I say the little boy inside of my husband, felt like his mom tossed him aside, just kicked to the curb like a piece of meaningless garbage at the end of his mom's life. He couldn't believe it. He was trying to deal with all this and all the years of what he felt from her, the lack of love and support, and this was like the ultimate betrayal, the ultimate sucker punch, the biggest blow, the mother load, no pun intended, of the years of this kind of shit coming from his mom. And even though some family members knew of all what is going on and supported him and still do, guess what the underlying message was to him when they spoke to him in the past days and weeks? And they weren't trying to be mean or anything like that, but what is the underlying message? Was, and I quote, "But it's your mom, and she's dying. Maybe you should reach out." Now, throughout all the bullshit of the years that I was in the picture, I've always said to my husband, you do what you want to do, not what you should feel you should. In other words, some of the times it was meaning go visit or call or holidays. Not saying that he shouldn't call, don't call your mom and don't keep in touch, but the big things, really go out of your way. I used to say it for, let's say, Christmas. He dreaded it, and so did I the last 2 years, few years. We dreaded it, dreaded growing. The last, it was especially so unhealthy and toxic, without getting specific, but it was really insane. But guess what? He did, and here goes that saying again, the right thing. The going, the doing, all the things. Always with the same result. Being met with no appreciation, love, criticism, happiness, no warmth, etc. All this shit. So, with her dying and her now death, I, as his wife, who loves him and supports him and saw it all from the inside out and outside in, I wanted him to do what would be best for him and his own peace. And if he truly felt that he didn't want to call her nor need that for closure, or perhaps want to hear what might have been an empty sorry, or be ridiculed again, or who knows what would have been of the conversation from her based upon the history. Oh, by the way, here's a side note. About 2 weeks ago, she did call him after being prodded and guilted into it by his uncle. So does that even count for her calling? I don't know. But anyway, my husband did call her back and he did leave her a message. But then crickets from her again. She never called back. So which brings me to, why is that not okay that he not reach out anymore? Why is it not okay that it is okay with him under the circumstances that he can feel the way he does and not feel that reaching out is best for him? Just because, and here it goes again, folks, quote, but she's your mom. Now don't get me wrong, my husband is extremely sad, mostly because that little boy in him that loves his mom is so sad that she didn't love him enough to say goodbye to him, didn't love him enough to keep in touch, didn't love him enough to give affection and be warm and fuzzy, loving, all the things that little boy inside is feeling all those things because of that innate love for our moms as children. But the adult in him, for lack of a better term, that's what I kind of wanted to say, he feels he lost his mom, or what he wished his mom was, a long time ago when he realized who she was. Even though I'm sure it will take still some time to accept this all, because we all want to feel love from our moms. But we also must accept the person as is in front of us. And that is why relative titles are not carte blanche for a healthy relationship, nor are they carte blanche that it be a have to or a should. We want to be around healthy, non-toxic people that have good energy, that we can feel good being around. And if a relative isn't that, I am here to tell you and give you permission and the power to set boundaries. Or fuck 'em, man, cut 'em off if needed. I feel like the lesson from my husband all along was just that. To form strong boundaries and just do what was best for him and his well-being all along. But of course, that is easier said than done. And sometimes, because we all don't want to be the bad guy. That's a hard role to take on. And also, it's sometimes because we aren't even aware what's going on at that given time. We're acting like on autopilot and not really seeing it for what it is yet. Which is why that first A in my 8 A's to happiness in life is so important, and why I put it first. And that A is awareness. I actually have podcast episodes on this. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because you have to have awareness before you can even begin to see or take action. And if you want to learn what my 8 A's to happiness in life are, you can check out episodes 9 through 16. That little, the 8 A's start at episode 9, so go check them out. Anyway, I just thought of another, and I'm sure as shit not going to tell another family history story here, but I just thought my ex-husband's ex-husband had a sister, had a sister technically. Let's see what I'm saying in a minute. She was so poisonous as well, to the point of like a freight train of destruction wherever she went, that he has since cut her off. But I remember his late mom always saying, "But it's my daughter. I can't not talk to her. I can't not keep her in my life." And this daughter was so abusive to her on the regular, in a bad way. So that is just another example that, the title doesn't override someone's actions and treatment of you. I've actually spoken about this to my own two sons, and they have the same outlook that I do. And it wasn't fun hearing, "Yeah, Mom, if you were like this or that, I'd cut you off. So, forget it." And I was like, "You would do a full cut off?" We were laughing, but I agree. If my own child was so toxic or abusive to me and my mental health, and my happiness suffered all the time, yes, I would never be able to stop caring for my children. I would never, ever be able to stop loving them more than anything in my whole life. But I would have to have very strong boundaries, or if it was really that bad, I guess I would have to cut ties and let them go and love them from afar. I am grateful that this is not the case, and I cherish my kids and our relationship. So, there is a little personal drama for you, but it's all to drive the point home. Point home. I don't know what I just said. Point home. The title of relative doesn't mean shit. Accept the person in front of you as they are, not what you want or expect them to be, and then determine how you want them in your life, and fuck the shoulds and fuck the have-tos. And hey, if you're close with your parents and friends with them, and close with your siblings and friends with them, power to you. It's great if you can be relatives and friends and enjoy each other and have that bond. But sometimes that's not the case. And we need to get out of the conditioning of society of what we should do or have to do based on the title of a relative. Maybe this isn't happening to you, but maybe you are the one pressuring someone with the should or the have to's because of that quote. Because, hey, they are family. So maybe you're the one pressuring somebody saying that all the time, but they're family. So maybe this episode will change your perspective. I hope this episode helped you in some way, or any that you have listened to or will listen to. Please let me know. Follow and give a 5-star review. If you want to be more in my world, please follow me on my Instagram, or you can email me and contact me, and all that info is in the show notes. As I always say, I would so love to connect with you on a deeper level. So follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to give that follow and a 5-star review. And until next time, I wish you much love and light.